You know, I'd love to do like a beautiful background behind me, but that ain't gonna work at all. So you're gonna get what you're gonna get. But this video is going to be about our Reading Between the Lines book club, The Secrets of Flight by Maggie Leffer. So this book club monthly reading thing is in collaboration with two hosts, Ingrid from Mama and Mia's Homeschool Chronicles and April from The Simple Rugged Path. And there are several of us participating in this book club Q&A type of thing, and you can see the whole playlist down in the description box below. This book is basically the story of two women, one woman in present day and then her story in the past, and the teenager that she ends up hiring to type out her memoirs. And how it opens is Mary Browning kind of helps run the senior citizen writing club where everybody shares stories and then nitpicks what they've written all around. And then one week there is another character, a teenager that enters the pictures, Elise, and she is trying to write her own story, and she's trying to get ideas and tips and helps and things like that. So this teenager joins the senior citizen writing club. Mary Browning stumbles across this newspaper that's going to honor these airwomen that were part of World War II for just a brief time and then were kind of, pushed under the rug. And she's going to be honored, and then she's thinking about all of the stories about this picture that she's seeing, and she's thinking about all their backstories, and she says, okay, it's time to write my memoir, and she hires Elise to type it all out. You kind of get present day, first person, 1940s present person from Mary Brown's point of view, and then you have Elise's point of view, and Elise is going through some really difficult times at her house. It's teenage present day, of course, who's not? And it's kind of the meshing of the two lives together within this novel. And it's really well written. I have a hard time reading books in the first person, and it was a little bit of a struggle to get going in this, but it got really good the further it went along, and I ended up not wanting to put it down. The first question we have for this is, what do we like best about this book? And without trying to give it away, in the end of the story, it really brings everything together, and stuff that I wasn't expecting, wasn't surprised, then expected, everything just started to, it's kind of like a cake where you're just putting ingredients, and then this cake just comes out of the oven and it smells good, and everything's wrapped up in a nice tidy little bow, and it's just beautiful. And I loved how the ending just came about, and she did a really good job. She made it so that you knew what was going to happen, but there were still some things that you weren't quite sure, and I like that. I like that I just don't have to predict everything. And so Maggie Leffer did a really good job about that. Okay, what did I like least about this book? Unfortunately, there was a lot of F-bombs in here. I can't tell you how much. It wasn't like it was on every page or every other page, which I have put books away saying I'm not doing this anymore because of that. There was some language in here, probably a little bit more than I was comfortable with, and I find that unfortunate. There really didn't need to be any time there was. And there was a point where she's with a high school boy, and it's disgusting. Like, I didn't like reading it, and of course I'm trying to just glaze over, and it's not that they have sex. There's other ways, if you know what I mean. And I don't like that about it at all. Nice part to just kind of, I got through that section a lot faster than I did the other ones, and it had nothing to do with the content of the book, or everything to do with the content of the book. Share a favorite quote about the book, and why did this quote stand out? I'm not very good about finding favorite quotes in fiction books. I'm terrible at this. So I was asked to share a quote from The Secrets of Flight, and I had to take that book back to the library. It was due, and of course I forgot to write down the quote, but there was a scene in there that will always stay with me, and it's when Mary finds her niece, and she says, go get a book, I'll read you a book, and her niece brings her Runaway Bunny. by Margaret Wise Brown. So she's in the middle of reading this book to her niece, and she can't finish it. Like, she's choked up, and she thinks of all the times that her sister has been there for her. You remember, she's a flight aviator, so she's been all over. She went to college. She has flown her sister. There's just some stuff that I don't want to share because I don't want to give the book away, but there's just some stuff with her sister, and basically that book chokes her up because the premise of the Runaway Bunny is the bunny's gonna go everywhere, and then the mom responds with, well, if you do this, I'm gonna become this, and I'll be able to be with you regardless. So she just really gets choked up because her sister's been that for her. And of course I was getting choked up because of the way it was written. It was so powerful. I have never really been I never thought Runaway Bunny was as great as everybody has made it out to be. It's a cute story, but there's other stories I really enjoy much more. But I have to say, after that scene, like, I will never read Runaway Bunny the same again. And that book changed it for me. So that's probably the quote I will use for this question. So that will always stay with me forever. So there you go. Okay, so the next question we have is, would you read another book by this author? Why or why not? And it all depends on the content of the book. With a book like this, I really enjoy it, but I don't know what other books she has. I don't know anything about them. If she wrote a book about sci-fi, no, I wouldn't read it. I don't read sci-fi, so I can't really answer that question very well. So I can't tell you. I don't know. Depends on what she writes about. Question number 5 is, what feeling did this book evoke in you? And I have a really hard time with this question every single time. I am not into feelings. I'm very plain Jane, tell it like it is, and I enjoyed it. It was pleasant, a very pleasant read. I can't tell you. I'm not very feeling oriented. You get what you get when you see this, so I'm going to let you be the judge of what feeling this invoked in me. So that's all on you. Now leave it in the comment section down below. So number 6 is, would I recommend this book? And like with anything, the reasons why I didn't like this book is why I would or would not recommend this book. I really enjoyed it, and I told a friend of mine that I knew would enjoy it as well, that she should read it. And I have another friend who would not be able to handle the language and some of the scenes. She would not handle it very well at all, and so no, I wouldn't recommend it to her. So based on what I have told you, if you are aware that there is language in here, and if you are aware that there is a disgusting teenage scene with stuff that I don't even wanted to know about, and if you were okay with that, it was a fantastic read, kind of in a World War II present day situation. It kind of dealt with some of the nastiness of divorce and some of the hardships of cancer. Lisa's family goes through a little bit of that. And so if that's something that you don't have a problem with, then yes, I think it would be definitely a fun read for everybody, and that's why I enjoyed it. So I don't read books and say, okay, you have to read this book. It depends on your personality. We don't have the same personalities. Everybody doesn't have the same personality. So it's World War II. It's present day pastime. Yes, I would recommend it for the story's sake. I would caution if there are some things about it that I shared with you that you wouldn't like about it. Okay, question number 7 is, what new things did you learn about? Unfortunately, because this is World War II, I really didn't learn a whole lot of new things, only because I kind of know a lot of it, and even with some of the aviators and the woman being in it, I did know a little bit about that. I don't really know how to use this question well, and I feel like it works better for a nonfiction than a fiction book for this question, so I can't really figure out a way to answer that well. What questions do you still have? Again, I don't really have any. Apparently this is actually a little more common, but which I find interesting for those of us in America. You changing the name, the Jewish would change their names for protection. I hadn't realized that they needed to do that just in order to get into some of the universities. So that probably was something new that I learned. But I don't really have any questions still. I thought everything was tidied up and well presented and finished really well. Did the book change your opinion or perspective of anything? Do you feel different now than when you did before you read it? Not really. I still really enjoy World War II. I think there's such a romance about it. It wasn't a beautiful time period. There was some horrible things done. But I think the fact that there were so many people of so different backgrounds and things just really working together to stop what was wrong, and the fact that there was so much misguidance and there was so much brought to light, it kind of made it beautiful how many of us came together and how many of us just kept persevering. And that's probably what I liked about it, but it didn't, my opinion hasn't really changed about that. And I'm trying to think of this in a different aspect, but I would even say that trying to remove World War II and just think about some of the stuff that Elise was dealing with, I don't really think any perspective has changed. And then question number 10, what surprised you the most about the book? I didn't really see anything that surprised me. I kind of predicted it, and I didn't, and I did, but I kind of didn't. And I think probably one of the things that surprised me, if you want to call it that, it was just like, oh, yeah, that was nice. It wasn't really a surprise. It was a pleasant revealment, and I can't really share that with you because it might give the ending of the story away, so I don't really know how to answer that. But at one point, something is brought to light that's kind of like an undershadow of the story, and it was done beautifully, and I knew how the end was going to end up. But there was like some details that what I thought her mom was upset about she wasn't as upset as I thought she was, and she wasn't as shutting the section of her life out as much as I thought. I'm talking about Mary's mom. She wasn't what I thought she would be. And I really liked that pleasantry. There is my review answering the Q&A. I really thought this book was well done. There was, those things that I talked about that they really didn't need to be in there. It did nothing to the story. But anyway. But if you would like to read more about what I thought of this, go ahead and check the description box below, because I will leave my Goodreads review for you. And I will also leave a link to this book so you can go to Amazon, check out other reviews. You can also do that on Goodreads review, but you can check out other reviews. You can find it secondhand. You can get all the information you need for it. You can look at thrift books to see if you can find it. I just use Amazon because it's an easy one to affiliate link up. You do not get charged extra for clicking that link, but Amazon recognizes that I suggested that for you, and they compensate me for that at no extra charge to you. So thank you so much for watching. I'm going to leave linked here a couple other options for you to see some other videos that I've done on books. And if you want to see other things that I have did, go ahead and click my face, and that will take you to subscribe so you can see any kind of video that I put out. I try to do grocery hauls, family life, homeschooling, and more. But I am a diverse girl, and sometimes random videos pop up. But until next time, have another cup of coffee and read another chapter.